wonderful people. Welcome to today's episode of Teens 360 with Savik. It's a time where we look at issues around teenagers in the view of empowering and helping teens, leaders, parents, pastors, and teachers, arming them with ample tools towards helping teenagers of today achieve their colorful destinies on earth. Welcome to today's episode. I'll be right back. Welcome back. On today's episode, we are going to be looking at another vital issue with regards to raising teenagers. And that is, teens hate public correction. Teenagers hate public correction. You see, I have walked around teenagers. I have led teenagers long enough to understand the psychological effect of public correction on teenagers. No teenager sees public correction as correction. They all see public correction as embarrassment. In their parlance, ewonala. You want to reduce their steez. You want to reduce their composure. You want to reduce their demeanor, Now, if you are going to correct a teenager, and of course, what is the reason for correction? If the essence of your correction of a teenager is to achieve a change in character, a change in attitude, a rescue from destruction, if that is your intention for correcting a teenager, then as much as possible, avoid public correction, because no teenager sees public correction as correction. They see it as disgrace or embarrassment. Most times, parents, teens leaders, teens pastors, we all at some point, out of anger, have fallen victim of this with our teenagers. But one thing you need to understand, one thing I want to bring to your knowledge in clear terms, is that teenagers hate and dislike public correction. Are we not going to correct our teenagers? Am I advocating for not correcting teenagers? Absolutely no. Am I advocating for letting them get wayward and misbehave? Absolutely not. But the point I'm trying to raise, remember, Teens 360 is about teens leaders and teens parents, pastors, teachers, and guardians. Teens 360 is not about teenagers themselves. So it's a program for those who are overseeing teenagers. And that's why we're trying to look at what you need to do to be able to have a firm grip on our teenagers and be able to help them. And one of those things you need to know, do, and practice as much as you can is to avoid public correction. Avoid public correction, especially in the presence of their friends. Especially in the presence of their clique. Especially in the compound where they live. Especially in the presence of their schoolmates. Most times what we call correction, correction in public for teenagers causes a psychological damage to the teenager. Most times when you think you are correcting a teenager in public, you are directly or indirectly dealing with the self-image of that teenager, self-esteem of that teenager. A teenager, for instance, at 14, 15, still wee-wees on the bed, still bedwets. And you think the best way to do it out of anger is to come out to in the compound and start Go and spread that thing. At your age, you are still bedwetting. Go and spread that thing outside, my friend. No, you are not. You are not correcting that teenager. You are destroying their self-esteem. Hey, Jennifer, why haven't you washed the plate? Look at how dirty you are. Always dirty. You are not correcting that thing. No. You are not talking to a kid. Neither are you talking to an adult. You are dealing with a child in between these two phase of life. So teenagers detest public insults. Public correction, and they dislike public embarrassment. Of course, they count public correction as embarrassment. So how do you correct your teenager? Like we said in the previous episode of Teens 360, befriend them. Talk to them. See, when you want to correct a teenager, talk to the teenager as an adult. That's it. When you want to correct a teenager, call the teenager in, sit him or her down, and see, if you correct a teenager and the correction is not taken as correction, you've not corrected the teenager. You've only created an enemy for yourself before that teenager. And believe you me, they are going to take your matter to their clique, like we discussed the last time, and discuss you, and you become an enemy or a perceived enemy to the entire circle or clique. Be you their teacher, be you their teens pastor, be you their teens leader, or whatsoever. So it is very important that we understand the psychological effect of public correction on teenagers and their perception of public correction. Are we not going to keep correcting our teenagers? Of course, that's what God has assigned us to do. That's what nature has naturally bequeathed upon us, to correct them when they go wrong. But understanding how to do this effectively. I usually say to young people that I lead that the reason why you do what you do is more important than what you do. Because the reason why you do what you do will determine how you are going to do what you are doing. So if your reason for correcting the teenager is to achieve change, then how you do that thing you are doing to the teenager will be more important than what you are doing. So how you correct the teenager will be more important to you than the correction you are giving to the teenager, because whether the teenager will take in the correction or not will be determined on the approach you use. I think this is even general with even adults. I think it's even general with adults. Talk more of teenagers who are still trying to build their steez, trying to build their composure. And then you now come and, no. If the aim is to achieve a change, then the approach must be change-driven. Sometimes beating does not even do correction for teenagers. We've said in previous podcasts that if the first step towards even trying to correct the teenager is to get the teenager know that I love you. Get that teenager understand that, come on, I love you. And you don't show someone love by coercion or by force or in a harsh way. So this will help you. This will help groom the teenager, nurture the teenager towards actualizing their colorful destinies on earth. Private correction is more efficient. Sitting down to talk with that teenager. Most times, when a teenager goes wrong, have a conversation around that thing they did wrong with them. Possibly, try to find out the reason why they did what they did. Or try to find out why they are doing what they are doing. This you can achieve by conversations around. You can either get it by a direct conversation, an indirect conversation, or from a friend of that teenager. I take that again. Try to find out why they are doing what they are doing, or why they did what they did. You can either find this out by a direct conversation with the teenager, an indirect conversation with the teenager, or from a friend of the teenager, somebody within their circle. Because most times, our teens do things and they have their reason. Maybe societally influenced reason, maybe entertainment influenced reason, maybe social media influenced reason, maybe role model influenced reason, maybe mentor influenced reason. Why they do some of the things, why they are doing some of the things they are doing. Now, beating them does not change where that influence is coming from. But sitting down to have a conversation, a heart-to-heart talk with the teenager will go a long way. You need to understand why. Because when you deal with the why, then the symptoms you are seeing will go. So it is not about staying out of the compound, or maybe the worst is you staying in class. You know, as a pastor, you use mic and you want to correct a teenager. What? No, don't go there. So, having a firm understanding of this psychological makeup of teenagers, having this great understanding will help you as a teen parent, as a teen teacher, as a teen pastor, as a teen leader, to fall into the love side. And if teenager sees you as somebody who understands them, they will always carry their word to you. They will always, I keep saying this, teenagers don't keep 100% secrets. They talk with somebody. Just maybe you are not the person they are talking to. So having this understanding will help us. Don't publicly correct your teenager. Don't publicly correct your teenager. They don't see it as correction. They see it as embarrassment. They see it as insult, in quotes. They see it as you trying to mess them up instead of correction. And like I said, the best approach towards correcting a teenager is to have a one-on-one. When it comes to correcting a teenager, please sit down and talk with that teenager like an adult. And while you're trying to have this conversation with them, please, as much as you can, put them in a comfortable situation where they can talk to you. Where they can talk to you. Very important, where they can talk to you. If they are not able to talk to you, then you really cannot make serious impact in their lives. Yeah. See, you can be that darling to a teenager, to a point where they will tell you, including anybody who is even touching them wrongly, including where they will even tell you their boyfriends and their girlfriends. Teenagers are that easy to get into. But first, you must walk into their love zone. And the easiest way to walk out of their love zone is to publicly embarrass them in the name of correction. Is to publicly embarrass them in the name of correction. These are minor or maybe things we overlook. And we think our teenagers are being stubborn. Our teenagers don't take correction. No. When you want to correct the teenager, please isolate that teenager and isolate the wrong he did. Sit down and have a conversation over that wrong they did. And find out why they did what they did. Because what you need to correct is why they did what they did, not what they did. Because it is the why that led to the doing. So, when you have an understanding of the why, you can be able to effectively correct that teenager, and the correction will stand. I hope this episode has been able to be a blessing to you. Join us every Tuesday on this platform in Teens 360 with Savik, where we arm teens, parents, leaders, teachers, and guidance on tools. Arm them properly to be able to guide and help our teenagers towards fulfilling their colorful destiny. Till I see you again next week, please handle our teenagers like great people who are going to fulfill great destinies.